Martha Benton, welcome aboard. Egberto, does your book talk about talking to right wingers that seem to only want to prove you wrong? My friends and I were saying it's like we are both just trying to convince the other. Let me tell you what I do. I'm so glad you talk about that, Martha. Right wingers, and actually left wingers too, too often go into a conversation that says, I am trying to make my point. And by the way, earlier in my life, that's how I was too. I knew I was so right. I wanted to make my point and I wanted you to see my point. As I grew up, as I got info from people from all over, all kinds, everything, I realized that there were three areas. You're either absolutely wrong, you're absolutely right, and then there are areas that are gray, meaning neither wrong or right. In this show, I've always explained that that right wingers talk about wanting small government and left wingers wanting big government. Both of them are right. Both of them are right. If you are willing to live with the consequences of little government, that's fine because that's not a right or wrong thing. And the same for the left. If you want big government, it means that there are a lot of things that we don't have to worry about. First, we're not going to get those spikes in wealth. And secondly, people are going to be able to have health care and all of that provided for with all of us pooling together by the state. So they're neither wrong or right. I mean, they're not wrong. They're both right. But to claim that a mask that can reduce 95% of particles in the air won't make less people sick. If a person on the right says masks don't work, they're simply wrong. We don't have to argue about it. They're just mathematically wrong. If somebody on the left says, if we have Medicare for all, it's cheaper, healthcare becomes cheaper on a per person, per thing basis, that's an absolute mathematical fact. So if somebody on the right tells you that private healthcare is more efficient, it makes no mathematical sense. So how do you solve that? When it comes to my book, Martha Benton, what I do is the following. I don't go tell them this information. I start asking questions after questions after questions in a very calm conversation and I let them come up with the answers. And you know what? Most people are intelligent. In fact, I'll garter Bart that everybody's intelligent unless you have a mental illness. Everybody's intelligent. And what happens when you have an honest conversation where you do more listening, where you allow the person to talk, where you ask questions, and when they say crazy things initially, you don't react to it, but you allow it to flow. You'd be surprised, and that's what I talk about in my book as well. You would be surprised that too often, more often than not, they come around to what you would have said anyway without you ever having to say it. And in the book, I give an example of the woman who I discuss Medicare for all, not once using the word Medicare for all, but asking her what she would like to see in her healthcare, which she was bitching about. And by the end of the conversation, what she wanted was Medicare for all. And I felt guilty. I finally said, ma'am, because I live in an area that's very, very red. And most black folk that they see in this part of town, they think we're black Republicans or something like that. And I'm a black left-wings Democratic type guy, right? And I finally felt guilty. And I said, ma'am, I hate to tell you, but, or rather, I told her, I just want to tell you that I am a lefty. I'm a Democrat, all that good stuff. I told her, and she turned red like a cherry. And she said, but you are so nice. And I said, ma'am, we are all nice. Go have some lunch with the liberal ladies who lunch. I told that story a million times. But I mean, so what I'm saying, Martha, my book gives some good pointers in doing that, in the stories that I tell. And in the radio shows that I do at KPFT 90.1 where people called in, many a times people would call in and I'll just let them talk and say their piece. And a lot of my left-wingers used to give me hell because why are you letting them talk? Why are you letting them fill the air with that? Then at the end of the conversation, they're like, oh, I agree with that. I agree with that. So the thing about it is having a conversation. Okay, continuing. Martha Benton, but one is right and one isn't. I don't get it. Depend on what we're talking about. Like I just said, there are three areas, right? You're either absolutely right, absolutely wrong, or gray area. And gray area is usually where you're at. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.